the motto AGM.
Hello, everyone,
question.
and welcome to Vancity's 77th Annual General Meeting. My name is Rita Parikh, and I'm the chair of Vancity's Board of Directors, and I'll be chairing tonight's Annual General Meeting. Thank you for taking the time to join us virtually tonight. The board, myself, and some of our management who've all joined here tonight look forward to spending the next few hours with you and to getting to hear your questions and comments on the reports presented at tonight's meeting. We've got a full presentation tonight with information on Vancity's performance, activities, and future plans, so please stay tuned until the end, as we need 100 members for this meeting to be duly convened. And because you don't want to miss your chance to be entered in our prize draw at the end of the meeting. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to access tonight's AGM package located on the main page at www.vancity.com/AGM under How to Join. I'd now like to call this meeting to order. Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge that tonight we're gathering on the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh First Nations territory. They have been custodians of this land for thousands of years, and I'd like to pay my respect to the elders, both past and present. Before we begin, I'd like to play a video from Sempeljan, who has kindly recorded a welcome blessing to those of us gathered here on Squamish territory. Sempeljan is a current elected member of the Squamish Nation Council and is a residential school survivor. He's a proud member of the Squamish Nation and an advocate on creating a better future for many generations to come, past, present, and emerging, by creating a culturally safe place to help folks understand the importance of reconciliation through his own personal journey as a survivor.
O siam siokwa sekwaitol chit kwaman tomi siam and Sempeljan tinachin class and okumeo kwaman tomi siam to watch no me siam. First of all, very honored to see each and every one of you, our respected elders, our matriarchs, Vancity Board. My ancestral name is Sempeljan. My English name is Stewart. I'm a Vancity Savings member, and I'm going to offer a song that our ancestors sang in 1906. They traveled to England and received an audience with King Edward VII. Our great ancestor, his name was Chief Joe Capilano Apluk. He also traveled with Chief Charlie from Cowichan and Chief David from Kamloops. Their song is called Hope Hope Chase. Hope Hope Chase, hey ya chaya. Hope Hope Chase, hey ya chaya. Oh, hey hey chase, hey ya chaya. Hope Hope Chase, hey ya chaya. Hope Hope Chase, hey ya chaya. Oh, hey hey chase, hey ya chaya. That song I shared with you comes from our great ancestor, Chief Joe Capilano. Traveled with two other chiefs to England, and they received an audience with King Edward VII in 1906. We offer that song to you to welcome you to the village of Kamkamalai, place of many maple trees, where a lot of Vancity savings branches are located throughout this beautiful city that we call Vancouver. To the south of us is our relatives from Musqueam. To the east of us is our relatives from Tsleil-Waututh, and we are Squamish. We are the Squamish people. Chin Kwanman Tomi up CM to Skokwe Ain't Squallow and Wait to say up, asking you to continue to work together at this AGM that we're going to gather. We're going to gather the people. We're going to gather the board. And thank you. Thanking you for honoring the 3 host nations, Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh. Thank you for this beautiful day. And we say, Hot Quit Mas. And that's the end of our beautiful video. Thank you.
Thank you, Simple Jan, for recording this welcome blessing for us. It's important for us to acknowledge the Indigenous peoples on whose traditional territories we live and work. It's a critical sign of respect that recognizes their presence both in the past and today, and it's one small way that we can express our commitment to reconciliation. I'd now like to introduce our board of directors. We have Joel DeYoung, our board vice chair, Anita Braha, who's dealing with a family emergency and isn't here with us in person, but is watching virtually. Hello, Anita. We've got Bill Chan, Lily Graywall, Megan Giltro, who is joining us virtually at this time. Hi, Megan. Patrick Nagel, and Kristen Rivers, who also couldn't join us tonight, but has joined us virtually as well. Hello to you too, Kristen. And Christy Stevenson, who has been re-elected for a 2nd term. Finally, we also want to welcome our newly elected directors, Opreet Kang and Heather O'Hara. Hello, Opreet and Heather, and welcome. I'd also like to introduce our executive leadership team. We have Christine Bergeron, President and CEO, who's here with me. You'll be hearing from her shortly. And the rest of the team, Janelle Acker, Chief Equity and People Officer, Nez Aquino, our Chief Risk Officer, Clayton Buckingham, Chief Financial Officer, Jonathan Fowley, Chief External Relations Officer, Wendy Murphy, Chief Technology and Information Officer, and Dave Perry, Chief Member Services Officer. Vancity has duly appointed Deborah Finley as parliamentarian, who has also joined us here tonight in person. Welcome, Deborah. And a special welcome as well to our American Sign Language interpreters. You'll see them at the bottom of your screens throughout tonight's meeting. The notice of the AGM was sent before April 23rd, 2023, meeting the 18-day minimum notice requirement. The Vancity rules state that a quorum for general meetings is 100 members. I've been informed that quorum has been achieved. So thank you for all for tuning in this evening. I'd now like to go over a few procedural items for tonight's meeting. You can submit questions and comments at any point during tonight's meeting. To do this, please click on the highlighted icon shown in the presentation. We'll do our best to address most questions during the question period. If we don't get to your question tonight, we'll collect all questions in the days after the meeting, and we'll post responses based on the themes on the questions on vancity.com. You'll also use the highlighted icon function when you'd like to move or second a motion. At the AGM this evening, we'll be answering questions related to our strategy, financial performance, member services, and other thematic issues that matter to you. If you've got a specific question related to your own financial accounts, please email us at agm@vancity.com, and we'll make sure the question gets to the right department. So I'm now going to go over voting process for tonight's resolutions. Once I read out a resolution, I'll ask that you click on the messaging icon if you'd like to move or second a motion. Once it's time to vote, you'll see the motion you're voting on with 3 buttons, a for, against, and withheld. When you wish to vote in favor of a resolution, press for. If you're opposed to a resolution, press against. And if you wish to abstain, as in not vote, just press withheld. To close the count, We will want all members to respond, so please make sure you're following along and voting. You'll have up to 2 minutes to vote, and once the votes are tabulated, they'll be displayed on the screen. So please put your vote in when prompted to do so and be patient as we wait for the results to come in. While we're waiting for results, we'll play some videos from a few of our members who will tell you in their own words how they're making change with Vancity as a partner. Now we'll move on to the first motion of the night. Okay, you should have a copy of the agenda in your package posted online. We've also placed the agenda on the screen for your convenience. The first motion of the night is to approve the agenda. As a reminder, please click on the messaging icon if you'd like to move or second a motion and type in the chat, moved or seconded. So the question is, should the agenda be approved? Is there a motion that the agenda be approved with a closing time of 6:40 p.m.? Please type in the chat if you'd like to move the motion. I have a mover, Rachel Carswell. Is there a seconder? And a seconder, Alana, thank you very much. It is moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? We'll give you about 20 seconds to type that in here. Got 10 more seconds. Okay, I've been informed that there's no discussion taking place online, so we'll proceed with the vote. Okay, please vote now, and we'll show a video while you're doing so.
This is the story of how we bought a 4-acre property in Gibsons, BC, and are turning it into a 10-lot community with gardens, communal areas, and room for our growing families. And it's a story of how Vancity helped make it all possible. This is Building Together. In 2017, we were just a group of 10 friends who shared the same simple goal of owning our own homes and living close to one another. It started out as nothing but a dream. We'd get together and talk about how much we'd love to buy a lot, subdivide it, and create a community of small homes with communal space that we could share together. A community that was built by us and for us in a way that we could actually afford. And then, all of a sudden, our dream became very real very quickly.
So I remember getting the email, check this out, in my inbox.
My mom, actually, sent an email of a listing that was just up the road from where she and my dad live in Gibsons. And it was a 4-acre property for sale.
It seemed like relatively low financial risk because there would be a number of us getting involved.
The property needed a lot of work, but for us, it was perfect. There was just one minor detail standing in our way. Where were we gonna get the money? That's where Vancity came in. They have this offering called a mixer mortgage, which basically allows 2 or more people to buy property together, plus the legal and insurance support needed to protect everyone's best interests. In other words, Vancity had our backs. With the help of our local Vancity branch, our offer on the property was accepted. From finding financing to subdividing and rezoning to actually building our homes, we had a lot of hoops to jump through. So how could we make this happen?
All right, you've done it. Thank you for your votes. The motion is carried. I'll go on to talk about rules. The standing rules are part of your AGM package right after the agenda on page 5. Let me draw your attention to the following standing rules. Rule 2, members may submit a question or comment electronically. Such questions, if recognized by the chair, will be thematically grouped and either addressed at this meeting or addressed in a public posting shortly following the meeting. Rule number 5, members may submit questions or comments throughout the meeting. They'll be addressed during the allotted question period. Please keep your questions and comments brief and to the point. Rule 6, a second question or comment on the same motion will be addressed if there is enough time left during the allotted question period. Rule number 7. The AGM is for the purpose of transacting the business of the general membership of Vancouver City Savings Credit Union. Issues of a personal nature will not be addressed during the meeting, but may be referred to the appropriate employee. The standing rules require approval by simple majority. So, is there a motion that the proposed standing rules for the 77th AGM be approved? Please message us through clicking on the messaging icon if you'd like to move or second this motion. Kevin has moved. Is there a seconder? And Jonathan has seconded. Thank you. It is moved and seconded. Is there any discussion on this motion? Again, we're going to give you 20 seconds to type here. Ten seconds left. Okay. I've been told that there is no discussion taking place online. The question, therefore, is, should the standing rules for the 77th Annual General Meeting be approved? Can you please vote now? We'll run a video.
Vancity for us really means that this project could move forward. Otherwise, we just wouldn't have been able to engage in it. They're really kind of doing something different with their group mortgage.
None of us had the independent finances to make this kind of project work, so Vancity supporting us to access this group mortgage was incredible, and throughout the process, they've really supported us.
The property included this beautiful house that needed a lot of work. We knew we wanted to fix it up for a tenant to help us out with our mortgage and to provide some affordable housing in the area.
Okay, so as part of our subdivision, we're actually designating about 50% of the property as communal space. So that being this whole sort of southern portion that we're currently seeing is likely to have a communal sort of workshop, carpentry, woodworking space, likely a greenhouse.
We were really mindful of how water moves on the land, how animals move on the land.
We're managing and reusing as much water as possible on site. Our hope is to be able to implement systems that reuse grey water and rainwater. And we are really motivated to design our homes to use as little water as possible. We've also really limited the size of the homes that we will be constructing to keep our footprint minimal.
So I hope our kind of journey through this can help inspire, other folks to be able to engage in projects like this.
Finance plays an absolutely huge role in community and community development. I think that access to money and access to funds to be able to start these types of projects is a major challenge.
A community, a place to grow our skills and our families together, to witness one another's lives. Community is where you live, but it's also so much more.
Okay, thank you for your votes. The motion is carried. Now, the board approved and subsequently ratified the minutes of the 2022 meeting, and a copy has also been included in the annual general meeting package on page 7. We have a tradition in identifying long-standing members with Vancity, in particular, those who've been with our credit union for 50 years or more. So we encourage anyone who's been a member since 1973 or earlier to send us a message. You can do so by clicking on the questions and comments icon at the top of your screens. We'll be sure to share them with everyone. I know we have many loyal members who can proudly attest to a half century with Vancity, and we do want to acknowledge your continued support. So I'm now going to move on to the board's report. This is my first AGM report to you as Vancity's chair of the board of directors. I assumed this role in January of this year, though I've been very proud to serve as a board member for the past 7 years. I look forward to serving you in this new capacity. But before I start my report, I'd like to, on behalf of our board and Vancity, thank two of our board directors for the leadership and service they've given to Vancity. Anita Braha and Lily Greywall are leaving our board after many years of dedicated service. Anita has been on our board for 12 years and served as our chair most recently since 2021, and as well from 2016 to 2019. She has led with humor and boldness, tremendous courage, wisdom, empathy, and insight. Her leadership and mentorship have been critical to Vancity, as well as to the broader Canadian credit union system. Anita's been instrumental in guiding much of Vancity's diversity, equity, and inclusion work, helping to craft the board's diversity statement in 2018, and the board's action plan to become an actively anti-racist governing body. She's also a strong advocate within and for the LGBTQ2SS+ community, sharing her personal experience as part of this community and working to redress systemic inequalities. She's played a key role in ensuring Vancity remains a powerful financial force for change. Just this week, the BC Credit Union Foundation is awarding Anita a Distinguished Service Award. The award is given in recognition of outstanding service in the BC Credit Union system and the cooperative movement, and I can't think of anyone more deserving of this award than Anita. Lily has served on the board since 2014, bringing tremendous insight into our members, both business and individual members, and their evolving needs. Her knowledge of their migrant, immigrant, and labor community and partners has been critical in grounding much of Vancity's work. Lily chaired the Nomination and Elections Committee since 2020, helping to identify the attributes and skills the board requires every year to provide oversight to this complex financial institution, and to identify the best possible candidates to present to you, the membership, for your vote. Before that, Lily chaired the board's Equity and People Committee, helping us evolve our compensation philosophy. She's also contributed greatly to the board's work on risk, audit, and governance. Lily also sat on the board of the Vancity Community Foundation and has worked with several other organizations and working groups. Lily has been instrumental in guiding the board on how to ensure our values remain front and center in our organizational strategy. It's been my sincere pleasure to serve on the board with both Lily and Anita for the past 7 years. Now, Vancity has a clear vision of the kind of economy our members and everyone around us deserve. A transformed economy that protects the earth and guarantees equity for all. This vision is the North Star towards which your board is steering Vancity. At Vancity, we have long focused on people, planet, and driving systemic change for our members and communities. Our commitment to realizing our vision is stronger than ever, particularly against the affordability and financial challenges increasing numbers of people are facing. The deepening economic and social inequities and the devastating weather events we've seen in recent years just reinforce how much we all need an economy that works for the planet and people alike. The board's governance function has particular importance in times of uncertainty. Our key focus is on how Vancity, as your trusted financial institution, works on your behalf to help you and everyone around us get through the uncertainty. That means looking at how we steward our collective assets and how we're supporting your needs for sustainable livelihoods and communities, how we make our profits and how we use our profits. Vancity's commitment to reconciliation, justice, and equity, and systemic change provides both an anchor and direction for us in our governance and stewardship efforts. For instance, local businesses, as we know, are at the heart of our communities. At Vancity, we continue to support the local economy and help our business members grow and succeed in ways that transform our economic systems and promote equity, climate resilience, and climate justice. We do that in different ways. We engage local businesses as business partners. For instance, 68% of our procurement spending, it's about $88 million, went to local businesses in 2022. Business members looking to reduce their emissions can get financing for building retrofits, equipment purchases, clean transportation, and other energy-saving products and technologies. We're also supporting business members in getting certified as green businesses through a Vancouver Island program that we're helping to expand right across the province. As Vancity's vision demands, our strategy must support economic development that protects the planet. For a financial institution, that means first and foremost, looking at the greenhouse gas emissions we finance through our loans and mortgages and bringing those emissions to net zero, eliminating or significantly reducing them, and balancing any emissions we can't eliminate by removing carbon dioxide from the air. We were the first financial institution in Canada that committed to achieving this goal by 2040, 10 years earlier than most banks. This means working with business members as we become climate resilient, reduce emissions, and transition to the green economy. It also means centering the realities and needs of the most vulnerable in our communities. That is to recognize how historic and entrenched economic, racial, and gender inequities make mitigating, adapting, and responding to climate impacts much harder. Vancity's strategy is to create paths so that every one of us can be part of the transition. Our strategy also included ramping up our community investment. As many of you are aware, we continue to return 30% of our net profits to members and local change organizations. This is another way that we're acting on our commitment to people, planet, and a people-centered economic transformation. At the heart of our commitment to people and planet is the fact that we are a member-owned cooperative. The cooperative model is old, but it continues to be one of the most effective alternatives to the common business model. The cooperative model requires that business profits benefit the people who matter the most, member owners and the communities where they live, rather than maximize profit for faraway shareholders. It focuses our attention on the communities in which we live and work and on strengthening these communities. And it supports the larger cooperative economy to benefit more people. So in 2022, Vancity contributed $1.6 million to strengthen cooperatives, including the BC Cooperative Association and the Canadian Worker Co-op Federation. Helping realize the transformative potential of co-ops is a board priority for 2023. Despite the turbulence and unpredictability of 2022, Vancity continues to be in a very strong position, as you will hear from Christine. We have a vision that is purpose-built for these times. We have a tremendously strong organization with talented and values-driven people committed to our cooperative principles. And we have a business strategy that is working and effective. It is driving strong financial results amid all the change around us, while at the same time driving real impact for our members and communities. And we have a highly committed strategic and collaborative executive team leading the way. For all these reasons, the board is confident that Vancity is in very good hands going into the future. As you may already know, our president and CEO, Christine Bergeron, is leaving Vancity later this year. Christine has been a transformative leader. She led Vancity from the challenging times of the pandemic to historic financial performance and recognition across Canada and in the banking sector globally. Along the way, Christine always kept members and communities, people and planet as her compass. Christine truly cares about people and communities, their well-being, challenges, and needs. The board is sad, of course, that she is leaving, but we're also ready for the opportunity that comes with transitioning to new leadership. The board has launched its search for a permanent president and CEO. That will be someone who understands Vancity, our values, our uniqueness, and especially you, our members, and who, with our members' interests at heart and in mind, can lead our financial cooperative into the future. Christine will remain with Vancity until July and in the coming weeks. We will name an interim president and CEO. They will lead the credit union until a permanent president and CEO is in place. We expect to have someone appointed in the months to come. Vancity's vision is a hopeful one, a transformed economy that protects the earth and guarantees equity for all is possible. And we are in a very strong position to continue to drive towards it. The board remains committed to Vancity working on your behalf. Thank you for your continued trust and faith in all of us. Right. So I've been told that we have several members who have been with us for more than 50 years. We have Sandra Sherban, Elizabeth Margaret Rempel, and one more, Victor Marshall, who has been with us since 1973. Thank you so much for your commitment to Vancity over all these years. And now I'm going to pass it off to our President and CEO, Christine Bergeron, to present you with the CEO's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Rita, and good evening, everyone. It's been an honor to lead this organization and both to serve our members and work with the amazing Vancity team over 12 incredible years at the organization, and especially as president and CEO in recent years. So this will be my last AGM report as CEO. And let me start by saying how happy I am that Vancity is so well positioned for where we find ourselves today. To continue delivering solid financial performance while making a big difference in the lives of our members and communities at a time when everyone is feeling a bit more uncertainty all around. Our strong 2022 financial year is a case in point. Last year was not what anyone anticipated, and I'm pretty sure I've said that every year so far as CEO. This time, we saw global disruption of supply chains, stock market volatility, the impact of extreme weather events, and they were all compounded by Russia's invasion of Ukraine. The result was inflation, unexpected recessionary pressures, and aggressive interest rate increases. Members acutely felt the impact, especially in the second half of the year. Grocery bills rose, our dollars didn't stretch as far, household debt grew, and for many people, financial choices became more challenging. Most of us felt the stress of living through volatility and change. As a financial cooperative, we've always prioritized being there for our members and communities. And the conditions of 2022 made that mission more imperative than usual. In 2021, Vancity delivered very strong financial results. On many key metrics, we achieved record performance, and this momentum continued well into 2022. But as the year progressed, the extreme market conditions everyone was facing began to slow our performance. Our response was guided by the same principles as always, putting members and communities and our values at the center of our work. This meant prioritizing flexibility to respond to member and community needs while still driving the financial results we needed to be there for them. The end result was a strong performance year under uniquely challenging conditions. We finished 2022 with operating earnings of $138.4 million, 9% above our target for the year. Our net lending grew by more than $1.3 billion, also 9% above our target, and one of our best years ever. Our total assets plus assets under administration grew from $33.2 billion in 2021 to $34.3 billion in 2022. That's a little below our $35.1 billion target for the year, but still a higher level than we've ever achieved. Our members continue to provide a strong foundation for us to invest in driving positive change. 87% of our loans are funded by deposits from our members. And many of those loans are triple bottom line ones. That means that while they're generating a financial return, they also generate positive impact for people and planet. So our triple bottom line assets and assets under administration totaled $11 billion at the end of 2022. Below our 2022 target, $11.7 billion, but still our highest ever. We remain in a strong position to respond to more changes in economic and financial conditions while supporting future growth, investment, and impact. Our capital adequacy ratio is strong. This is a standard measure representing the ratio of a financial institution's capital to its risk-weighted assets. Our ratio of 14.1% is safely above our internal minimum requirement, as well as the minimum required by our regulator. Our 14.1% liquidity ratio, our available liquidity as a percentage of the deposits and debt that we hold, is also well above what's required by our regulator and within our internal target range. We will continue to keep both ratios at a level that ensures our credit union is operating safely and prudently. There were a few performance metrics where the changes in our operating environment meant we fell short of our 2022 targets. One of these was in our sustainable wealth management inflows, or the money our members, you, invest with us. Our $188 million inflows fell short of our ambitious target for 2022, but still represent the fourth highest year in our history and are in line with other large credit unions. This is somewhat understandable given what happened to the markets in 2022. With all the economic uncertainty around us, cost of living challenges, rising interest rates, and markets being down much of the year, it is understandable that many members chose to keep more money available for daily and short-term use. So while our results were short of our target, they were still among our best ever, showing how strongly members trust us and our responsible approach with their investments. In fact, we had more than 3,000 new investors throughout 2022. And this trend is continuing in 2023, with nearly 1,500 new investors in the first quarter alone. That's why we believe strongly that we have the capacity and resources in place to drive more growth in this area in the coming years. The overall return we deliver on average members' equity was 6.2%, so right on target. Once we factor in our shared success payouts, the 30% of our net profits that we pay out to members and communities every year, we delivered a 4.6% return, so just under our 4.7% target. Vancity welcomed more than 23,000 new members in 2022. There were departures too, of course, including nearly 6,000 member accounts that were closed after they had had no activity for 10 or more years. So as a result, while our overall membership numbers grew by nearly 2,000 last year, we did not meet our full membership growth target this year. Here too, we believe we are fundamentally well positioned to target strong membership growth in 2023. Achieving these results, despite the challenging environment we're facing, gives us the means and flexibility to provide resilience and be there for members and communities facing the same environment. For example, we knew many members faced questions and decisions about their family finances. How can they make their money go further? How can they make ends meet when the cost of living is rising? Do they need to rethink their financial goals and plans, or how to best spread resources among checking and savings and investments? Vancity's always been here to serve members' banking needs. Providing members with the best possible financial advice, tailored to their unique circumstances so they can better navigate the economic challenges they're facing, is a top priority for all of us at Vancity. But we also know that getting through the current economic challenges can't be separated from fighting the climate crisis. Climate change is already making things less affordable, and that's a barrier to many people's ability to reduce their emissions. So we are continuing to work on innovative products that help members reduce their emissions. For example, members can now estimate the carbon footprint of their credit card purchases, and we were the first in Canada to have this optional feature on our cards. We're partnering with climate experts to provide members looking to reduce emissions in their homes with advice on housing retrofits. We're also working with business members to support their emissions reductions. And nonprofit housing providers for members now have access to specialized grants focused on emission-reducing retrofits. Building community resilience also continues to be a key priority for us. After all, our members thrive when the communities around them are thriving as well. For example, we're supporting the development of more affordable housing for both renters and owners through several of our lines of business. I was particularly heartened this year by the way we stepped up for displaced people arriving in BC. Figuring out and trusting a new country's financial system can be daunting, especially when you're escaping persecution or war. And that's why for many years, we've worked with partners like Immigrant Services Society of BC to open bank accounts for arriving newcomers and displaced persons, and to provide financial advice and support in starting their new lives here. We mobilized this expertise when Ukrainians fleeing the conflict started arriving here last year, while continuing to work with newcomers displaced from other conflict-stricken countries like Afghanistan and Syria. It's a powerful example of how we, as Vancity members and British Columbians, welcome and help each other. Another important step we took in 2022 was committing to the Progressive Aboriginal Relations, or PAR, certification program. Reconciliation is a core Vancity value, and partnering with Indigenous communities and businesses is also a key priority for us. PAR is an Indigenous-led program to create equitable access to financial services, capital, and employment. The program will help us build deeper relationships with our Indigenous members and partners, as well as build out the Indigenous voice within our own workforce. The dedicated support and service we provide members, the trust our members show in us, our financial results, and our impact are all the result of the work and dedication of our employees. One of my proudest moments in 2022 came when we were publicly recognized as one of Canada's top 100 employers. Our commitment to empowering employees and our support of employees' mental health in particular have been spotlighted by media. I am always so thankful to our employees who continue to serve our members and communities with a full and compassionate heart. And I reflect on my time at Vancity, including as president and CEO. There are so many things I am proud of, starting many years ago with how we understood and categorized our triple bottom line assets, to setting up our impact investment fund, rebranding Vancity as a financial force for change, and resetting our vision for a transformed economy that protects the earth and guarantees equity for all. How we showed up for members during the pandemic, taking real steps that help people get through really tough times. How we led and continue to lead the country in our COVID response, our climate action, our support for affordable housing, and the impact that we generate through our work and from our profits. The actions we took to support employee mental health, the many different ways we've been realizing on our commitments to reconciliation and to being an actively anti-racist organization in our operations. The work we do in the downtown east side, providing basic financial services to people who need it most. The list is so long. And I know that Vancity will continue to forge a path of success despite our challenging operating environment. We have a compelling vision, we know our work is important, and we know why we do it. We have a strong strategy and a clear business plan. We have exceptionally talented team of people. So we'll maintain our focus on serving more of our members' everyday banking needs, and we'll advance our work to build a clean and fair world for our members and communities. Our values-based and people-centered approach makes us different from other financial institutions. And as we move through 2023, we do expect unpredictability and unfavorable market conditions to persist. But Vancity will continue to navigate these waters with members and communities as our anchor. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. We're now going to take a short pause as we slide into question period right after this video.
We are in Alert Bay, which is an island off of northern Vancouver Island. You have to take a 45-minute ferry ride. It is a small island that's about 3 kilometers long and 1 kilometer wide. There's about 1,100 people at any given time who live on the island, and Vancity is here.
It is within our Numlease territories, and our Numlease people actually came from Vancouver Island, which is right across from us.
The Numgees First Nation and the village of Alert Bay came together and they asked Vancity to come to the community. What had happened is the previous credit union left very quickly and unexpectedly, and that put the 65 or so businesses on the island into a very bad situation.
When we went that year without a financial institution here, it was literally a nightmare. The only places where you could withdraw money were from ATMs where they charge you $5 or $6 extra to get money out. If somebody paid you in cash, you had to travel over on the ferry to deposit the cash into your account.
It's hard to put into words how big it is to have Vancity and Alert Bay. It saved us, not only the community, but the businesses as well, and the governments that we do have. Most of them all bank with Vancity now, which is great. My sister worked really hard with members of Vancity to get Vancity to our community, and they are now the only financial institution in Alert Bay.
We were able to hire locals and provide good living wages and benefits. We've become a trusted employer here.
I really love the establishment because a lot of our elders do come here, and that's what I really thrive off of, is that being able to help our elders.
So I'm really, really proud to be a Vancity member, you know, and I appreciate the support they give us, and things I don't understand, I can have a private conversation with, you know, the ladies that come up, and you know, I've never ever talked to anybody before.
We want to share our culture from our heart place. We want the world to see what we have to offer here as Botwood people in Alert Bay, because we have a very rich culture that's still intact from the beginning of time.
We're looking at supporting reconciliation, some housing initiatives, entrepreneurship initiatives. Last year and part of this year, we supported Umista Cultural Center. So some of those initiatives was cultural support. They did a drumming workshop. They did some missing and murdered women's circles. They did language, a lot of youth support, and we try to support them every year.
Any event that happens in Alert Bay, Vancity takes part in it.
We've been supported by Vancity. They've sponsored 2 of our culture camps where Indigenous youth are learning language and stories and medicine from our elders out at Bon Sound. For generations, First Nations across Canada have been hit really hard through colonization. And I believe that the time to be proud of who we are and where we come from is here now. And it's through, you know, people like Vancity where we're getting supported financially to bring youth out into the lands to learn about who they are. There's nothing more impactful than that.
Thank you. We now have 15 minutes for questions relating to the board and CEO reports. There'll be time at the end of the meeting for a general question period, including new business. We ask that you save your questions or comments that do not relate to the reports presented for that portion of the meeting. For our question periods, we'll have Scott Purchall, our Vice President of Communications, moderate your questions. Scott, over to you.
Thank you, Rita. And welcome from me to all our members who've joining us tonight. Please submit your questions now through the messaging icon, and we'll do our very best to get through the questions that you submit. But if we don't get to them, please stay tuned in. There will be a general question period, as Rita just mentioned, later on in the agenda. As a reminder, if you have a specific question related to your own financial accounts, please email us at agm@vancity.com, and we'll make sure your question gets to the right department to be answered. We've already had a few questions come in during this meeting, so we'll go to those right now. Our first question comes from Christina. Thank you, Christina. Is part of your vision to include expansion throughout the province to serve your members who are not local to the Lower Mainland? I think, Christine, this is a question for you.
Sure. Thanks very much, Christina, for the question. So certainly our main strategy is not to expand throughout the province in terms of opening branches everywhere. However, we are constantly assessing where our branch network should be and trying to match that to our members' needs. So as you, I believe, saw in the video, we have opened a branch up in Alert Bay. We do have branches on the island. And we also have done some pilots in other areas of the province, but there is also the ability to interact with us digitally. And so it depends if your question is with respect to a branch network, all throughout British Columbia. That's not currently our strategy, but certainly helping our members who can contact us digitally and who need support. Certainly, we always want to support all of our members wherever they are. Thank you.
And our next question comes from Gabrielle. Please clarify what seems to have been, or still may be, an issue regarding pensions for unionized and non-unionized Vancity employees. Christine, I think this is again a question for you.
Sure. Thanks very much, Gabrielle, for the question. So maybe I'll start just by saying that Vancity does take very seriously its responsibility to support all our employees in having a stable and reliable retirement income. And we've done so for many years, both by offering all of our employees either a group RSP or a defined benefit pension plan. So in 2020, we set out to expand access to a defined benefit pension plan for all of our employees. So this type of pension plan is only offered by about 10% of private sector employees in Canada. And as I said, it does offer a predictable and stable retirement income, which we think is very important. So since then, using employee feedback and then working with a team of pension experts, we designed a new defined benefit pension plan that best fit the needs of Vancity employees. It went into effect on January 1st, 2023, so just this year, and we've now enrolled a majority of employees into the pension. So to your question on union or non-union employees, there is an outstanding legal disagreement with the BCGU over how this new plan should be governed. The BCGU has been seeking to serve as the sole employee voice in governing the new pension plan, even though it represents less than 1/3 of Vancity employees. And so, we've been working very hard. We'd like to see this issue resolved. And we're currently waiting for that process to be finalized. Thank you for the question.
Our next question is about interest, the interest that we pay on our various products. So Christine, I think this is coming to you again. This is from John. Why does Vancity not pay interest on regular savings accounts? Line of credit interest goes up regularly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, John, for the question. Certainly we do pay interest on various accounts, including our high interest savings accounts, and always looking to be competitive on term deposits and the like. And as you would be aware, given the increases Bank of Canada rates, the interest rate environment has been very volatile. So we are constantly trying to manage, monitor, and adjust and change the rates accordingly. So depending on the accounts that you have, we do offer interest. Again, if you've got a lot of money in a checking out, we have our Jumpstart savings accounts, and you should perhaps look to move it there where we offer a higher interest rate. Thank you.
The next question relates to our AGM and the format of that. So I think Rita, as board chair, this would be for you. Kind of hard to converse as a union when discourse is censored like this. We can't even see who is here. Please do the AGM in person next year. Yes, a broadcast option for some, but in person available for whoever else wants to come.
Thank you, Paul, for that recommendation and comment. You know, Vancity went to a fully virtual format in 2020 with the onset of the pandemic. And since then, possibly it might come as no surprise, our attendance at our AGMs increased dramatically. And in fact, tonight we have over 550 people joining in on this call. So this format is working and does work for many of our members. You know, we recognize that there are many ways in which people can engage with the board, and this certainly isn't the only opportunity. So we recommend that you reach out to us in those other ways as well. But, you know, Paul, we hear you, and we evaluate our approach every year. Your feedback matters, and we know that people are hungry for social connection. So thank you very much for your comment.
Our next question is about digital currencies from Hu Ting. Hi there. Just asking this question on behalf of some members. Does Vancity have any plan or potential to move forward to accepting digital currency or encrypted currency in the future? And I think, Christine, this is you.
Sure. Thanks for the question. I mean, certainly current plan, that is not in our current plans. Could it be in the future? I mean, certainly that's a possibility. As you may be aware, the Bank of Canada has just started, you know, having more dialogue on what a digital currency would look like here in Canada. So we certainly follow all of those trends. Our Chief Risk Officer and the full team thinking through what that means for us. So perhaps more to come from that perspective.
The next question is about our ATMs and the recent updates. It's from Michael. Recently, I experienced a problem with a cash machine at Branch 3. While attempting a deposit, new crisp bills were not being recognized by the new envelope-free machine. My question is, as new tech systems are often buggy, was investing in the newer machines a wise investment decision, considering that apparently, according to a Vancity staff person, bills and check recognition is a known common problem with the new machines?
Yep. Thanks, Michael, for the question. So you're correct. We have been replacing some of our some of our old ATMs with new ATMs, which are actually, you know, had been something members have been asking us for some time. Certainly, I would say to your question, was investing in newer machines a wise investment decision? You know, we always put full business cases together to make sure we understand the potential risks, but also all the benefits to our members when putting in a new system. I would say that your point around it being a known bug or issue, certainly we would not have implemented new machines if we had known that there was a possibility for someone's money to be taken, as an example. So we're working with the vendor, and I'm actually quite happy and I'm confident in how those machines will be performing in the future. So we do business cases, and thanks for that question.
And our next question is about inflation and how interest rates relate to that. It's from Parinaz. Could you comment on inflation and how that will reflect our interest rates? I've seen rates in Jumpstart reduce significantly, and that makes me concerned about growth within Vancity when the rates are low at the moment. Thoughts?
Yes, sorry, I was just reading the question. How will it affect our interest rates? So, I mean, so what I'll start with is inflation. How that does affect interest rates is what the Bank of Canada decides to do with respect to rates broadly. So that's the main correlation that we then need to navigate. I'm not certain what rates in Jumpstart that you've seen reduce significantly over that period of time. So we do have some different promotions that we've put together for high interest savings accounts, which actually would be higher rates. At times when we do have promotions after the period of time of the promotion, we do bring those rates back in line with where they were. So I'm not sure if that's part of your question, but certainly, as I said earlier, and we know and fully appreciate that everyone's trying to stretch their money as much as possible, we are constantly looking at rates in the market, constantly looking at how we're pricing and ensuring that we are fair and competitive with our offers.
And the next question is from Kareem. It's about our Indigenous reconciliation efforts. Can you speak to Vancity's Indigenous reconciliation efforts, particularly the economic participation of local First Nations and any effort of partnership? Thank you. There's probably room here for the board and our CEO in answering.
Do you want me to start, Rita? Okay. So thanks so much, Kareem, for the question. And certainly we do a tremendous amount in trying to think about economic participation and always start from that perspective that is not the Vancity lens, but actually what do our Indigenous partners and what do First Nations want from us? I mean, that's really our role. You know, I would say maybe make a few comments. We did appoint in last year, Michelle Laviolette as our first director of Indigenous banking. And so we are in the process of rebuilding a strategy with respect to Indigenous banking to really think more about, you know, how do we create equitable access to financial services and capital, obviously then supporting Indigenous people and businesses and organizations around resilience and growth and sustainability. And so we are constantly partnering up with many local First Nations. You know, the list is long and probably we could have a separate 1-hour conversation, but certainly as we start to build out with our PAR framework, we'll be able to start providing more and more of those details. So maybe I'll end there and Rita, see if there's anything you wanted to add.
That was well said. You know, reconciliation has been a core value of Vancity since 2015, and we take that, our commitment to reconciliation very seriously. You know, it manifests in many different ways, as Christine has said. In part, last year, for example, we invested $2 million of our shared success community funds in Indigenous community initiatives, and including sponsorship of Science World Sacred Journey and Bear's Lair TV series. So there are many ways in which we're investing, and you know, I think you've heard it said many times before. It's a journey, it's a long one, and we're committed for the duration.
So I think we just have a couple minutes left for questions. So if you want to ask a question, please submit it soon. The next question is from Jonathan. The funding towards cooperative development is having a significant impact on communities across BC. It's allowed us to help workers launch 7 co-ops in the last 2 years, with 10 more on the way. Vancity is a leader across North America in this work, and the entire team at the Union Cooperative Initiative is thankful for this ongoing support. Thank you. Thank you for the comment, Jonathan.
Can I take that question? Can I say you're welcome? That's a more fun question.
So I guess this might be our last question for this round, and then the questions will continue in the next round under new business. It's from Diana. I would like to understand why Jay Veldkamp was on the ballot when there was a news release that she has stepped down. Yeah, Rita.
Right. Yes, Javaria stepped down last year, and then the conditions of her private life changed, and she was able to run again and went through the nominations process. So she stepped down in March of 2022 when a conflict became apparent with her role on the board. So to resolve the conflict, she stepped away. When the conflict was resolved, she decided to run again for the board, and she was recommended after our full vetting process, and was on the ballot again for the most recent election.
So I think that that brings us to the end of our first question period. Thank you very much for the questions, and I'll hand all of you back to Rita.
Thank you, Scott. I'll now call on Vancity's Audit Committee Chair, Director Bill Chan, to present the auditor's report and Sustainability Assurance Providers Report on behalf of KPMG.
Thank you, Rita. Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us tonight. KPMG LLP was appointed as the external auditor of the credit union for the year ended December 31st, 2022. KPMG was engaged by the credit union to perform an audit of the annual consolidated financial statements of Vancity for the year ended December 31st, 2022, which is a regulatory requirement for all credit unions in British Columbia, and to provide assurance over key accountability data, information, and principles included in the 2022 annual report. The assurance provided over Vancity's accountability reporting is not a legal or regulatory requirement, but one that management and the board have voluntarily sought to obtain as a leading practice here in Canada and globally. One firm, KPMG, provides assurance over both the financial statements and key accountability information and principles in the annual report. The external assurance provides confidence that key information is complete, accurate, and balanced. It also drives improvements and integration in the credit union's management and reporting practices. KPMG's independent auditors report over the 2022 summarized consolidated financial statements is included in the 2022 annual report on page 46. KPMG's independent assurance report over Vancity's accountability reporting is included in 2022 annual report on page 43. There are no concerns to discuss with you with respect to the reports provided by KPMG. The Audit Committee has reviewed the work performed by KPMG and confirms that KPMG has remained independent from Vancity in the context of the rules established under professional standards, received the full cooperation of management and employees of Vancity in conducting their audits, being provided with full access to Vancity's books and records during their audits, and being able to carry out our audit procedures without any restrictions or limitations.
Thank you, Bill. I move that the auditor's report and sustainability assurance providers report for the year ended December 31st, 2022 be adopted. You should see the motion on your screen to adopt the external auditor's report and the sustainability assurance providers report. So if you could, please click on the messaging icon if you'd like to second this motion. Thank you. We have Jonathan who has seconded the motion. So the motion is moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? I'm going to give you 20 seconds for any of you who are typing. Ten more seconds. Okay, I've been told that there is no discussion taking place online. Bill?
Great. The question is, should the external auditor's report and the sustainability assurance providers report for the year ended December 31st, 2022 be adopted?
Okay, I'll ask you now to vote, and a video will play while you're doing that.
Hey there, I'm Levi.
I'm Leah.
And we are proud Vancity ambassadors.
If you don't know us, we are content creators on YouTube sharing how we live sustainably, and also for the last year we've been living out of our Prius while we travel around North America.
It's honestly so great to be able to partner with Vancity because they are an institution that represents our values, and so being able to share that message with our audience has been super seamless.
The great thing about Vancity is it's not one of these big banks that spends
your money on things that you don't believe in, Vancity is a credit union. It gives back to its communities, it gives back to local businesses, and it feels really good to put your money into a place that actually supports your values.
This is probably the best credit union to be a part of. They have been carbon neutral before. It was cool. They give back a ton of money, and their customer service is actually good.
We love you, Vancity, so thank you so much for the opportunity to work with you and to be proud ambassadors for everything that you do.
Glad to be a financial force for change.
Thank you for your votes. The motion is carried. Bill?
You will now see our second motion on the screen. I move that KPMG LLP be appointed auditor and sustainability assurance provider for Vancity for 2023, and that the board of directors be authorized to set the remuneration for KPMG in this capacity.
All right. Once again, we'll ask you to type in the chat if you'd like to second this motion. Thank you. Anne has seconded the motion. I'll provide some time for discussion. You'll have 20 seconds again if you'd like to share anything on this topic. Ten seconds. Okay, I've been informed that there is no discussion taking place online. Bill?
Thank you. So the question is, should KPMG be appointed auditor and sustainability assurance provider for Vancity for 2023, with the board of directors authorized to fix the remuneration for KPMG?
Okay, over to you now. Members, please vote, and we'll show another video.
Hey everyone, so sorry to interrupt this very important meeting, but I'm just here to say that Vancity is pretty great, which I'm sure is a very controversial opinion here. So for context, I have a YouTube channel where I make videos on urban planning issues called About Here. The decline in children walking or cycling to school is astonishing. Waterfronts like this, should we embrace renting, have resulted in a generally... And last summer, I partnered with Vancity for the first time to produce a video on non-market housing.
The condo is an example of market housing. The price is set by the highest bidder. The Athletes Village Co-op is an example of non-market housing. The rent is set by just how much it costs to provide the housing.
Why does housing like this exist? Well, it's because many people and organizations recognize that housing is, a need. Through that process, I learned about the amazing work that Vancity does to support important issues like affordable housing and climate change. And because of that, I became a member of this credit union. In fact, I got my mom to sign up for a membership as well. So with that, I'll be working a lot more with Vancity this year. That, of course, means more collaborations on About Here's YouTube channel, but it also means coming on as a Vancity ambassador, where I get to talk about the benefits of being a member and all the great products we have access to, like a credit card that counts your carbon emissions. How cool is that? Promoting Vancity feels like a natural extension of my work. I started making videos on urban planning issues because, to my core, I believe that positive change comes from more people thinking critically about the systems around them. And lately, I've come to recognize that a big part of that is thinking critically about where we bank. When I first learned that my deposits at Vancity could go towards supporting my local community, that was a mind-blowing idea to me. And through our work together, I hope that more people hear about it too. So that's all I have to say. Thanks so much again, Vancity, and back to the meeting.
Okay, thank you again for your votes. The motion is carried. Thank you, Bill. We'll now hear from Director Lily Graywall, who is the chair of the Nominations and Election Committee.
Thank you, Rita. Good evening, members. The members of the Nominations and Elections Committee for 2023 are the following non-director members: Lori Carvat, Kevin Huang, Theo Lam, and Sam Otum. And the director members were Joel DeYoung and myself as chair. Hello to all Nominations and Elections Committee members who have joined us virtually tonight, and thank you so much for all of your efforts yet again. This year, we had 6 candidates running for 3 positions on the board, and we had 26,008 valid ballots cast this year, both online and by mail. As a result, these 3 director candidates are elected as directors and will serve as a 3-year term commencing at the close of this AGM. You elected the following 3 directors, and they will be serving a 3-year term. Christy Stevenson with 16,345 votes, Opri Kung with 15,627 votes, and Heather O'Hara with 14,769 votes. Congratulations to you all. On behalf of all Vancity members, thank you to all the candidates who ran in this year's Board of Director elections. Without members like you, we would not be the strong and democratic cooperative that we are. You all are great examples of our passionate and engaged membership, and I would like to recognize each one of you. These include Christine Arnold, Opri Kung, Heather O'Hara, Sean Riley, Christine Stevenson, and Javaria Velkamp.
Thank you, Lily. We'll now proceed to question period again. We have 15 minutes for questions, including new business. And I'll once again hand it over to Scott to help us moderate this portion of the meeting.
Thank you, Rita. Once again, please submit your questions through the chat now. And as another reminder, if we don't get to the question tonight, we will collect all the questions that we received, and we're going to post answers to these according to themes. So you won't see an individual answer to your exact question. Instead of repeating them, we'll do them by themes. And we'll do that in the days following the AGM on vancity.com. So we have another question from Parinaz. This one relates to the banking issues that we've seen in the US. When we hear of bank crashes in the USA, would members be protected in any way if there is a Canadian crash in many years to come? So Christine, I think.
Sure. Thanks for the question. It certainly has been on many people's minds over the past couple of months. So maybe I'll just start by saying that as a provincially regulated credit union, Vancity's member deposits are fully insured through CUDIC, which is the Credit Union Deposit Insurance Corporation. So this means 100% of deposits with Vancity are protected. That includes foreign currencies and accrued interest. I'll also maybe give you comfort. When I was talking during my report about both our capital and liquidity ratios being strong, being above what's required, the reason regulators put in requirements of certain percentages is that's where they feel that that's what's required to stay strong in the future. And I can also say that, since the end of 2022, both of those ratios have gotten stronger for Vancity, so that's a good thing. Canadian banks broadly and credit unions are well capitalized. We are also subject to quite rigorous regulatory scrutiny. We stress test our portfolios. We feel we have very conservative loan loss provisions in place as well. We have a diversified deposit base, and we are very conservative in how we look at our investments from a treasury perspective in terms of duration of our investments. So overall, we're in a strong position. Your question was a bit broader, of course, to the Canadian system, and that's where I would point to both the BC regulatory environment and also the Canadian regulatory environment through OSFI. We believe that we are more conservative here in Canada, both given capital and liquidity requirements.
Our next question is from Zahida. Are we ever going to introduce a special children's account?
Thanks for the question. So we do have youth accounts, but I appreciate your question in terms of having a separate, specific children's account. We don't have it in our short-term plans, although my children probably would like one. So what we are looking at is constantly looking at our broad set of accounts. How are we thinking about fees for different accounts? Do we need to rethink our youth account, seniors accounts, et cetera? So we are doing that work, and some of that will then come back, not in the short term, but certainly as we get into next year and beyond.
And Asmina is asking about whether, in light of the new St. Paul's Hospital being built across from Vancity's head office, will there be a new branch built in the Olympic Village area?
Yeah, thanks for the question. So I cannot say yes or no in that sense, in that, even if we wanted to, we also need to be looking for space that's available. What I will say, though, is we did close Vancity Centre branch, the one that's in our head office building, just last week, because we're constantly looking at traffic patterns that come from members, what they need, and where they want to bank. And so when we do look at those areas, I would say if we look at Olympic Village, it's not purely because St. Paul's is being built. We'd be looking because of what we're seeing from our broad membership of, traffic patterns, where they're living, and what we think would be the best location. So we don't have anything in the plans this year, but certainly we're always looking at other great locations.
The next question relates to the patronage program that used to be in operation. It's from Kenneth. I miss the shared success payment that I received each year. Are profits really still being returned to members? So again, I think Christine.
Sure. Again, thanks for the question. So yes, profits are being returned to members and communities. So, as we said, I think maybe in both of our, Rita and my reports, every year we share 30% of our net profits back to members and communities through this program. And since 1994, that's been just under $445 million. So this year we did share back $22.1 million to our members and communities. So all Vancity retail and business members directly received a 5% dividend on our membership shares. And then the remainder was put through shared success community grants and partnership funds. And that's dispersed to local initiatives, many of which we've been highlighting throughout this AGM. So we did make changes to that program last year, where we were doing what's called patronage, where it would be quite a complicated analysis on products that we would then pay. And so we simplified that to do a dividend on member shares with the remainder going to community. That's where we felt we would have the most impact, the way we could have the broadest systemic change. We did that both with feedback from membership and also ensuring that it was done with all the appropriate steps, given how we are structured and what we need to do for that. So it is all going back to members and communities.
And the next question is from Tracy. And her question is, what is Vancity doing to retain VPL leadership without having to bend to corporate level salaries? Now, I'm not sure what VPL refers to.
Yeah, so I'll try to answer the question, and if I'm not answering it, perhaps send in a second one. So if you're referencing perhaps like our senior leadership group, without having to increase, salary levels tremendously, I'm not sure if that's the reference, but I'll take that as the question. So certainly we are constantly looking at overall compensation and total rewards. Our amazing equity and people team do this quite regularly, trying to think both about salary that you take home, but also all the other rewards and benefits that we offer. Everything from, our pension plan to our benefits, a lot of the perks that we have. We also do have profit share for employees, and then we have short-term incentive plans as well, depending on the level of the person and the role. So we're constantly looking at all of that and ensuring that we're competitive. We also want to make sure that people want to work at Vancity and they feel that they're thriving in the role that they're in. And that takes a lot of other work. It's a lot of other aspects to be thinking about. We check in quarterly on whether people feel their manager is supporting their mental health, trying to think about how else and what else can we do to bring the best that people have to work, but also to make sure they feel that they are being compensated in the broadest sense for that work. So again, if I didn't answer your question, feel free to send in a second one. Thank you.
The next question, which comes from Kelvin, is about our climate focus. There's a heavy emphasis on climate change in Vancity's image and advertising. There's only so much members can do to improve our footprint. And I feel like many eggs are being placed into this basket for community betterment, even though there's not much control over how these play out globally. Other than climate action, I can think of many more critical issues, such as the opioid crisis, rent evictions, poverty, affordability, crime in this region. In the annual report, I see many pages on climate, but absolutely none of some of these other issues. So maybe Christine and Rita could both comment.
Maybe I'll start. Kelvin, thanks so much for your question, and certainly agree, unfortunately, there are so many critical issues to deal with. Maybe I'll answer it in a few ways. The first is when we started to think about, as you know, one of our core pillars since we've been founded has been environmental sustainability. And we were thinking about the current state with climate crisis. We really wanted to think about the levers that we have as a financial institution to make that change. And the biggest way that we can do that is through the money we allocate through loans. So what do we finance and what does that look like? Other businesses have different levers where perhaps they have a much larger supply chain that they want to be managing. But for us, it was who do we lend to and how do we do that? And the vast majority of our portfolio is real estate through mortgages, through business loans secured by real estate. So for us, it made a lot of sense to be thinking about how do we, as a credit union, as a financial institution, come up with innovative products and solutions that help our members drop the emissions from their from their home, et cetera, which ultimately helps us with our full portfolio and how we can bring that down. And that's sort of part of our role. And, I agree with you on affordability, on rent evictions, on poverty. We actually do contribute in many different ways to a lot of these issues. Perhaps we didn't highlight them quite the way, that they showed up for you when looking at the annual report, but certainly on housing affordability for renters and owners. We've spent a lot of time over the years really being thoughtful on how do we finance buildings to ensure there are no rent evictions. It's really something that, honestly, I'm very proud of how our teams think about that work over the years before others even understood what that problem was. And so while yes, probably there's always more we could do, I would say that we're focused on climate because it is a core lever that we can influence. It's why we advocate for it. But we also ensure through our shared success granting, through all the system thinking work that our amazing impact strategy team does, all of these things come together. Climate does affect affordability. Affordability and rent evictions affect addiction. There's all these components. So the teams think as much as they can from a systems change perspective.
I believe that we have a few minutes left, maybe three or 4 minutes left. So we'll move to another question. If you have questions, I encourage you to submit those now to make sure that we can get them answered today. Otherwise, we'll answer them following the AGM. Elizabeth is asking, why was the 4th Avenue branch moved to a new location?
Thanks. So yes, that branch just moved not too long ago. And if you haven't been to the new branch, you should go check it out. It looks really great. It's just moved 1 block to the west. And the main reason is really just a leasing situation where it made more sense for us to move from that perspective. So we liked the other location, but this just made more sense overall given the lease situation.
And the next question is from Jillian. Does Vancity have any plans on implementing a debit/Visa combination for members in the near future?
Yeah, thanks, Jillian, for the question. We've been asked that over the years, Visa debit. And, we do have a new Chief Technology and Information Officer whom we are delighted to have on board, Wendy Murphy. So she's been looking at our full technology roadmap, what we want to be rolling out and when. So I don't have a firm answer on that, but hopefully the next time we discuss it, we'll be able to let you know if there's a timeline for it.
And our next question is from Mark. As an employee and as a member of Vancity, as a longtime employee, Indigenous, and a veteran, how are mental health resources going to be more easily resourced?
Thanks for the question, Mark. If you mean more easily resourced from the perspective of making it easier for you to access it, I would say a few things. So first, if you don't feel that it's very easy, please reach out to our equity and people team so that we can make sure we're giving you as many resources as possible or through Insight. But I would also say that we are rolling out our new benefits which include additional support for mental health. So I'm hopeful that that would help you. We're also including other less traditional and colonized approaches to benefits, looking at Indigenous healers and the like. So maybe if you're willing, maybe you can let us know through the chat. The team can reach out and ensure that you can access all the resources that we do have.
And this will be our last question. This one is from Sung. Are we going to have a US dollar credit card?
Thanks for the question. It comes up with Visa debit. So what I'll say is, at the moment, we do not have a US credit card on the roadmap. We have put in place quite a few new enhancements to our Visa cards, but it's not the US dollar one. So we do have new business visas with low fees. We've added in our carbon counter. We've been changing and the look and feel, but we do not yet and don't have that planned for this year.
And that brings us to the end of our question period for tonight. So I will hand the meeting back to Rita.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Scott and Christine. And thank you very much to all our members for your thoughtful questions tonight. It's fantastic. We welcome your feedback. So again, please feel free to send us an email at agm@vancity.com. And if you'd like to get in touch with me or anybody else on Vancity's board, you can email us at board_directors@vancity.com. So this completes the business aspect of the AGM. I'd like to take a minute to thank all of our staff who made this virtual meeting possible. Vancity's governance team, the communications team, and the marketing team, who've all put in a lot of time and effort in ensuring we can connect with all of you virtually tonight. And also thank you to our venue host, the Rocky Mountaineer Station, our ASL interpreters, what a fantastic job you've done, and our two audiovisual teams, Encore and Showmax, and our voting platform partner, Lumi, for your technical support in ensuring tonight's webcast ran smoothly. Don't forget, all of you who joined our meeting tonight as a member, you'll be entered in the draw to win one of two $500 cashable term deposits. If you're one of the lucky winners, we'll contact you directly in the days after the AGM. Thank you to everyone who joined us tonight and stayed with us throughout the meeting. Without you, this meeting wouldn't have been possible. We look forward to seeing you again soon. Good night.